Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it may not be a good idea, but here's Gary Kroger.
I like that. Well, hi, I'm Gary Kroger, and that wonderful introduction was from Ken Seisler. This is, in fact, the Gary and Kenny Show. Thank you for joining us. Kenny, we haven't spoken in a little while.
No, we haven't spoken in a while. We each had our lives to deal with.
Yeah.
Fortunately, our lives are over with. We no longer have to, so we have free time. But since we're not going to have a guest today,
No.
4 people, so I think maybe you should be the guest.
Okay, let me be. Oh, fine. Fine.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. And I'd like to point out, Kenny, I like these periodic shows where we don't have a guest. As much as I love having a guest and people love our guests, I need to calibrate every once in a while. I get old guesty hosty sometimes when it's just that. And so I need to ground myself a little bit with Kenny.
No, I think these are kind of therapeutic sessions for you. I think.
Yes,
You
yes,
really
they
need to
are.
get it out because you've got a lot of pent up stuff going on.
I do, Kenny, and I finished the show, the Rat Pack, and we talked about that a little bit, where I was Dean Martin, and it was a lot of work, physical, mental work. But I got seriously ill at the end of the run. I was taking cortisone just to get through it. It took 2 months to completely get over this lung infection ailment, achy joints,
I didn't
headaches.
realize these things were contagious over Zoom because I caught exactly what you have, Gary. And I am still dealing with it now. And I am not at the 2 month mark, but I'm certainly at the 7 week mark.
Well, you sound like you have a cold. Honestly, Kenny, I have since that show, I put up another show, All My Sons, and I'm performing this weekend at our Performing Arts Center. I have not stopped being busy. But today was the first day since the middle of February, at least March, that I went, do I really feel as good as I think I feel? No headache, no aches, nothing. My digestive system feels good.
I did the antibiotics,
I didn't do
that.
anything except cortisone to get through a
Oh,
show.
yeah. No, I know these things. I don't know if it's just the bacteria is getting, then the big question is whether it's bacterial or viral.
I think
Big question. You gotta fight for this.
yes, of course. And we all became much more aware of this with COVID. But I swear to you, Ken, since COVID, and I had 2 bouts with it, managed it well. It never got terrible, although I got really sick once. But I've never gotten my taste buds back. I feel that my immune system is more sensitive.
Oh, wow.
I don't feel like, I feel like COVID took.
You have long COVID.
Well, it could be long COVID. But I test negative. I mean, I've tested several times and I don't have COVID, but it changed my chemistry, I think. I think it's true of a lot of people where we just get sick faster, or maybe now the world is filled with viruses and just so many, permutations of
Well,
COVID.
I'll tell you what it must have done, using this as a segue opportunity. COVID must have had an effect on many people in their brain and their ability to remember what Trump was when he was president, when we had COVID. How do they not remember? There must have been some kind of bacteria in COVID that takes away a piece of the brain so people forget.
Kenny, I made the same observation, but it's always been true. Every time there's a catastrophic happening, I know that by the next election cycle, no one remembers. No one remembers that it was Bush that tanked the economy, that cut taxes and went to war so that our spending was greater, and we went into a bottomless recession. They forgot.
Well,
by the next election
thing happens in the movie industry, which it's like when a movie gets released, and even though the person who's in the studio at the time didn't have anything to do with the movie, but they get all the credit for it. It's the same way with the political cycle, which is what happens is Trump got Obama's world, which was great. No war.
Yeah, right. Economy, every indication was going up. Unemployment was coming down.
Credit for all that. They didn't have a war when I was president. Yes, that's because Obama didn't leave you with a war. Okay.
Right.
So all of these, that really bugs me too, is the idea that
Of course. And I read all of these things, saying Biden is the worst president in history and look at inflation. I wrote an article myself 5, 6, 7 years ago that inflation was coming. Now, this wasn't me as an economist, but reading what economists were saying, that as the income disparity gap widens, inflation is inevitable. It was exacerbated by stimulus spending, where Biden offered programs to help businesses that suffered, would have gone under during COVID. So there was a reason for that spending, but it only created a slightly higher uptick toward the inevitable inflation. That Trump also exacerbated by widening income disparity and cutting taxes at the top, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and placating corporations and removing restrictions.
No, I mean, but it's a very different world only because of the internet. The internet has changed the whole access thing. But let's talk about other things.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, you know what? It's a serious subject, but I'll go there.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Jews, which I can say the Jews because I am a Jew.
Let's talk about the Jews. Is that what you said?
Okay?
I didn't even hear what you said. Juice or Jews?
Jews.
Let's talk about Jews.
Jews. The Jewish people.
Okay.
The Hebrews.
The Jewish people.
Chosen.
Okay.
The chosen.
Right.
Okay.
The chosen people.
Because I'm chosen.
Well, I'm chosen removed, Kroger's were a Jewish family.
Not gonna,
I feel that I have some cred
over your Jewish cred, okay?
All right.
But, obviously this is the big issue that is happening across the campuses and whatever, and it's very disturbing, and the whole Jewish thing and caught up in this anti-Semitism.
Yes.
And it's really remarkable, but you can't convince anybody or persuade. You can't have a subtle conversation about, well, I can sympathize with the Palestinians, even though I'm Jewish, can't I?
Of course.
And I can hate the
You're
Hamas.
able to have two.
I can hate Hamas and point all my fingers at that stuff.
Yeah.
I hate them. Yeah. But to come out and just blame everything on just one side or the other, I don't care anymore whose side it is. There are people suffering. And I want to say I'm sympathetic. I don't want them. And this thing is, on the campuses, I probably would have been more supportive if they were on the campuses just yelling ceasefire, 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 which I agree 1,000% on ceasefire, but not the whole thing about the Palestinian thing. It shouldn't be about that. It should just be about let's save people and stop.
Well, I agree. Now, I have a question for you. Yes. Now, because I'm trying to drill down, and I have been since the campuses erupted, and from people that I know, it's in college, like Northwestern people that I know who are at these, said that anti-Semitic people infiltrated these. Now, I'm not. I said this to someone. He said, "Kroger, you're an idiot. These are anti-Semitic rallies," and I go, "Well, no, no one I know that was at this rally saying ceasefire." And talking about Palestinians was anti-Semitic, but they said it was an opportunity for genuine anti-Semites to get in there and go, fuck Israel, destroy Israel. And that becomes the news, and that becomes the
that's because those people are the loudest voice in the crowd.
Yeah.
So they're the ones screaming the loudest. I don't necessarily believe it's one person screaming out in a gang of not a gang, but in a protest of 200 people, that they speak for all of those 200 people, just one person yelling. But that's not the way we work. We associate.
Well, I bristle.
Yell something anti-Semitic, and we assume that everybody around that person is also anti-Semitic.
Well, and the way these things are covered contains no nuance. I bristle when anybody, whether it's Fox or MSNBC.
See, bristle. That's such a white Christian thing to do.
Is it to bristle? So I betray my heritage as a Jew when I say bristle. So bristle to me sounds Jewish.
Brisket.
Anything with bris in it sounds Jewish to me.
That is true. Anything with bris in it does sound Jewish.
Okay. Well, I bristle.
You did.
I bristle
when you say it like that. Sounds Jewish.
I bristle when any headline is anti-Palestinian or anti-Israel protesters. That doesn't say what's going on there. Lots of protesters, for example, who are saying ceasefire. This is destroying Gaza, destroying Palestinians who are not Hamas, and they're labeled as anti-Israel. That doesn't tell the story, and it propagates the problem.
What word was that? Propagate?
Propagate. Yes. It extends
well, I
the
want to say
problem
that
and the misunderstanding of the
I
problem.
want the last word. So I just want, because
okay.
I think one.
You deserve the last word.
I am not optimistic about the future because I think Israel did nothing but create more extremists and more, potential terrorists against them. Because I don't think the cycle of violence will ever end as long as there's revenge, and that's going to be revenge from both sides. So I see, 50, 100 years in the future, they're still going to be killing each other.
Well, there's a reason this has existed for a long. Oh yeah, you're right. Well, I'm extending your last word with there's a reason there's no resolution and hasn't been for a long time.
I'm claiming my time.
I guess I share your pessimism.
I'm claiming my time. Did you ever hear that?
Okay.
I'm claiming my time. What do they mean by that? They're claiming their time.
Who's claiming their time?
Congressman, you ever see when they're talking to somebody and the person?
Oh, they're saying they're claiming their time. Well, everybody only gets so much. I don't know. It's part of the rules of order where you can give up your time to someone else that has a point.
I'm going to try that.
I'm now claiming my time.
I'm going to try that in public settings.
Okay. You could just say, I'm claiming my time.
Like when I'm checking stuff out and the person starts talking to me and I'm going, I'm claiming my time.
I'm claiming my time. All right. You're claiming your time.
Right. Like, yeah.
All right.
Those situations. Yeah.
Are we moving off the Middle East now?
Yeah, let's go to the world of entertainment. What's happening in the world of entertainment, Gary?
The world of entertainment? God, I'm so disassociated.
There's no entertainment? See,
there's no entertainment. Well, there was Jerry Seinfeld, who maybe isn't the Teflon comic that he used to be. He's coming under unusual criticism now. And I don't mean just about.
It's bizarre that he's getting criticism, but that's the world we live in with anybody.
It is the world we live in.
That anybody has an opinion and that they make this opinion just so that people will click on them and we all stand up. And now we're all Trump going, some people are saying.
Yes.
Some people are saying.
I know, and it's indefensible. I mean, it's impossible. It's impregnable, rather, to say some people are saying, because in this world of too much information,
I'm sure you'll find some people.
You'll find someone who's saying that. Right. But he made this comment about woke culture being from the far left. I found that difficult to resist as well. And I chimed in going, well, there isn't a far left movement creating rules and regulations. It just kind of came out of the wind. It's not the far left. It's just where we culturally have created a consciousness. So I wade into it too.
Well, yeah, I listen. Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld use as a barometer for anything, whether or not it's funny.
Yeah.
And the reason that I think that it's just, let me give an example. If I'm a Jew and you tell a Jewish joke and I laugh, I think it's funny. I don't think it's offensive. And I would say that's the same thing if I told a Asian joke and an Asian person laughed at that joke, then that Asian found that joke funny, because we can all find something funny about where we came from. And we used to be able to make fun of other people and where they came from. And those people would even be able to laugh, because if it's a good enough joke, it's funny.
Well, I think what happened is this: human beings by nature evolve toward making things
Are there human
better.
beings who are not by nature?
By our inherent wiring, we try to improve things. It's too hot, create air conditioning. It's too cold, create heat. Don't go fast enough, make a faster vehicle, etc., etc., etc. We are constant. So part of what we do is defend ourselves. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get stepped on. I don't want to be forgotten, etc., etc. So it naturally sort of evolves that we create these safeguards. with, again, the explosion of the internet, there are so many ways to penetrate our vulnerabilities. So out of the wind, again, I think came this consciousness of, well, don't do that. Don't tell an ethnic joke that could offend somebody. And now we are programmed into believing that it's not okay to go into any area that could possibly potentially insult someone.
Right. Well, that's the world we've created. I don't think you can ever put it back. I mean, I think it's always going to be there. You're not going to have a contingent of, people from,
right.
all of a sudden black people would come out and say, you know what,
and
can start using the N word.
Right. And I'm sure you agree. Really, but my basic premise is, and I'm sure you agree, is the world isn't supposed to be just right for Kenny or just right for Gary. It's not like if I'm sensitive to it, so what? So I'm sensitive to it. The world doesn't follow my rules and my sensibilities and shouldn't.
Right. I have a question though. Is this a reflection of all the things that you just said, or is it just about money? Is it just about clicks? In other words, because we live in a very, very capitalist world where in the United States and certain places, it's all about making money, making money. Now, there are certain places in the world, Soviet Union, I'll bring up an example, or China, I'll bring up an example. They don't have as much, I think they don't have as much social media, Facebook, kind of like we live by a tweet every
regulated.
day. Yeah, it's regulated. So I wonder if they have the same kind of sensitivity. Like if somebody did something, would they be more outraged or less outraged?
Tell a Chinese joke and let's see what happens.
Well, if you were Chinese, I would, because you would be a good test to see if I could.
Well, that's interesting because I was just having a conversation with a friend.
I noticed that you always have conversations with other people.
Some people are saying, some friends of mine are saying, Kenny, but yes, I do have conversations with other people. I try not to because I try to focus on my Kenny time.
Yes.
But I was talking to a guy that I grew up with, and we were talking. He was pointing out that everything now is contingent on money. Everything is designed basically for us to push money up and for those coffers to open to accumulate more and more money. We have replaced, in other words, the basic dictum of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness with a paradigm that exists on money. It's the pursuit of having more.
It's unbelievable. You are good with the words.
I think I overused the word paradigm because it's one of my favorite words. It's a perfect
I don't remember the last time I used it in a sentence.
But
so have we covered the world of entertainment, Gary?
I was looking at this. Yeah, we got off of it. Okay. But think about this, Kenny. The whole system, just like the capitalist system, just like the food system, we are programmed to believe that we have all these food choices at the supermarket. Basically, 3 giant corporations own everything. They put a different brand name on it, and we think we're getting a different kind of coffee.
People that kill all the chickens. I think there's like 3 companies that are in charge of all the chickens in the country. Every chicken is under the control of 3 companies.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they have created this paradigm that accumulates wealth, and we just keep giving it up. I went to the store the other day to buy a gas tank at Lowe's. I bought the same tank for $9 2 years ago. It's now $17.95.
Oh, this is,
and it's not because the price of plastic went up. It's because they're going, hey, everything went up. Let's jack up everything so they can make more money. And we complain about it, but ultimately, what did I do? I paid more money. So I live with less.
You have no choice, but that is the problem with capitalism is a tough system. It doesn't work. It's not necessarily, you know what it is? Capitalism, for all its great things, the one thing it's not is fair.
Right. It's not a moral construct. It isn't about morality. It's just about accumulation. He with the most wins.
Right. Right. Do you want to go to sports, Gary?
Yeah, I want to talk about Harrison Butker. Kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, you want to fill the people in on that story?
Well, as most people probably know, Harrison Butker, the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, he gave a commencement address at a Catholic university, and he is a Catholic. And
where being a misogynist is perfectly okay.
Well, it's part of the doctrine. Basically, It is patriarchal, and it's part of the doctrine, because even though there's a huge outcry, and people, me, you, are saying he's tone deaf. Come on. The NFL came out, but he got a standing ovation there.
He did.
He knew his crowd. And he got a standing ovation. He was telling them what they want. Now, there have been 800,000 signatures to have him fired from the Kansas City Chiefs, which is ludicrous, but there's been a huge outcry and only about 800 in support of him. I don't believe there are only 800 in support of him. I think that he tapped right into the vein of the right-wing patriarchal concept of making America great again. And it is misogynist.
I guess so. I don't know. I mean, that's apparently people have this, nostalgia is a powerful thing. For some reason, everybody thinks they were better off yesterday than they are today.
Right. That's exactly what it is. We remember, because our lives were simpler. We were little kids, that everything must have been better.
Right.
But we didn't have air conditioning in the car. It was brutal. But now I think back, those car drives with mom and dad to California.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I mean, there was always turmoil I was felt in every part of my life. There was always some kind of, thing going on, especially the Vietnam War. I mean, things were not great back in the day.
No. In 1968, RFK is assassinated, Martin Luther King's assassinated, the Vietnam War's going on.
They're beating black people on bridges because they're black.
There's still Jim Crow laws in effect. Yeah.
This is our lifetime. So it wasn't all rosy.
The riots, the Watts
go
riots.
Go back to those days.
Yeah. No, I know. And there were only 3 stations if you rotated the antenna on top of the house.
Remember antennas? You'd see it. Every house had an antenna. Yeah. What a drag. If you were in the antenna business, you would have been like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I hope you invested elsewhere. I just found an article in a scrapbook of my mother's that was a front page article in the local paper when I got Saturday Night Live. And it says, Kroger's rotate family antenna to watch son's debut.
That's hysterical. Is that true?
Yeah. They had to rotate the antenna to pick up.
Wait, your dad got on the roof?
The state of the art, and the Kroger's had this, was this big electronic dial on top of the TV, and a motor would make.
No, we had to get on the roof. That's so funny. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Rotate the family.
Those were the days. Why can't we go back to the days when I'm standing?
Yeah, when Dad would fall off the roof and break his neck.
Yeah, wow.
The good old days, Kenny. The good old days.
I'll tell you. Well, they're over. I'm turning 70 this. I don't know if people want to hear it anymore.
I know
how close to death we are. I think it's like, all right, guys. Let's
they do. Look, I think it's part of our signature brand. You're turning 70. I knew your birthday's coming up. When is it?
You know what I noticed about old people too? Because now I'm paying attention to old people.
You've noticed age spots? What? Moles?
No. Like when you're driving and there's an old person walking, then all of a sudden they'll stop. And as you're driving they'll kind of half turn their entire body
to make sure you're not going to running.
No, just to look. They because there's nothing going on.
Because there's life, like movement.
They turn slowly and they just like look at you and watch you drive.
And imagine the life that you must have.
Yeah, I'm saying, I wonder at what point I'm going to be like just walking and all of a sudden hear something.
Kenny, you don't have to worry about that until you're 71.
Right, 71. Yeah. No, there's a lot of stuff that old people do that I always look at and I go, holy shit, am I going to end up doing like a lot of this stuff? It's very sad.
I feel that we are very youthful. I feel that our manner, our outlook is still very, very youthful. Now, that being said, even to those people who eat yogurt in Siberia and live to 130, even they're going, 70. That's there's no measurement by which 70 is young.
I agree. Did I shown previously the picture of my grandfather?
No.
Back, no. Let me.
You have a picture of grandpa.
People. to see this.
For those of you who only listen, Kenny is going back in his office to get a portrait of his grandfather. Wow. Wow.
Okay, you
That is
see
a
that
cool
man with the
picture.
gray hair?
Yeah,
On
that's
top of the suit
Grandpa.
and tie? That's
Who's
grandpa.
everybody else?
Okay, the one with the army
Grandma?
uniform is my Uncle Jack. He was in the army. And then the
Uh-huh.
Eleanor is my aunt, and
Eleanor looks pretty hot.
my father's the guy all the way on the right.
And your father's the guy on the right. How about that?
How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, I was actually born from a human person.
You were born.
Anyhow, that
Is that
guy
is
on
that in New
top,
York? Is that
yes.
where is that?
Oh,
Yeah.
Brooklyn, I imagine.
In
Anyhow,
Brooklyn?
yeah.
Cool picture.
So
Hey, I have that exact frame, by the way.
oh, good. So the guy up there,
Yeah.
the grandfather, I don't
Uh-huh.
know how old he is there, but he must have been younger than 56 because he died when he was 56.
You're kidding me. Well, there you go. There's a good point. As I'm saying that I think we look relatively young. I'm 67, you're just about 70. I saw a picture of someone the other day who was about 59, all gray, had the look and the jowls and the chin and the skin,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
widening of
Mm-hmm.
someone that I would have thought was 80.
Well, this is going to be a big problem for the next generation that we're hanging out so long.
Yeah, it is financially as well.
Yeah, no, we're just going to be an annoyance. They're going to be
Yeah,
like, holy shit.
right.
Your life
Right.
expectancy was like 100. What the fuck is going on here?
Now, let's talk about the news. And maybe this is a pretty serious show, but we haven't spoken in a while. You know, from the beginning, my liberal friends would say, of which I am one as well, of course, oh, this is going to get Trump. Georgia's going to get Trump. Oh, this case, this collusion, this is going to get Trump. And I always just kind of roll my eyes, go, no, I don't think any of it is. I think he's
Why
going to
is that?
walk from all of this.
Why is that? What's going on? My wife will use the thing, well, he's brilliant. I'm thinking, is he
I don't,
brilliant?
I don't think he's brilliant. I think he does one thing really well, and he's done it his whole life, is you just say what you want over and over and over, and enough people will believe it. And enough people will follow. To get the former attorney general to come in and vouch for him and say, this is a monkey trial, I mean, that moves the needle in his favor. And his
I
groundswell of support widens.
I'm completely without any kind of answers or understanding, but it is frightening to see this world, this disconnect between, like, I'll read the newspaper and the top article will be about the president of the former president of the United States in courtroom with these charges, and I read about it, and it's disgusting. Not disgusting, it's bizarre and it's embarrassing. And then I look over to my right and I see Trump leads in the polls.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't
How?
make how this. I'm reading this article about what a evil
Yeah.
human being this is,
Yeah.
and then over here I see that he's the most popular person in America.
Right. Right. I don't know. I don't know, Kenny. I don't know. Two things that I do. I either become overwhelmed and start drinking wine, or I just disassociate myself, go, okay, I'm going to focus on my life and having a nice day and making dinner for my wife and
That's
seeing
what I
my
think we're going to
kids.
be coming. I think that's where it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen where Trump will become president, and then some of us will just become hermits. We'll just decide we don't want to hear about anything anymore.
Well,
And so
I think
that's the end of it.
there would be something in developing, and I guess I'm going to sound like an idiot right now, but I'm willing to, a technology where all I had to do was flick a switch, and there's Kenny, there's my friend Dirk, there's all my friends. We talk. I don't need to see anybody else. The news that I get is only the news that I want. I mean, we're kind of there already, but I'm inundated with all sorts of things that aggravate me. If there was some way to magically just focus on flowers and friends,
Well, that's what drugs are for.
well, maybe that's the answer.
Well, yeah, no, that's exactly the answer. That's what people do to try to escape the reality. Is that's
Yeah.
what people do, drugs escape the reality. But I think there's, yeah, this is. I'm trying to think. I don't think even when the Vietnam War was going on, I was thinking I was able to have a good day.
Yeah.
But now that
Oh, we were
Trump's
kids.
around in the ether, it's like at some point his name just creeps up.
Well,
and it just becomes, that ruins my day. He's managed to ruin the day, every day of my life since he has announced his presidency. All those days were ruined.
Well, you know what? My day has changed since 2016.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've had lots of good days and wonderful things and experiences, but my thinking, the way I approach every day, at least incrementally changed ever since, oh my God, that man became president. I held my breath for 4 years, and I've been holding my breath since. And now the specter of this horrible human being. And I know I'm invoking Godwin's law, but you have to be able to talk about the fact that a lot of Germans in the countryside were thinking, oh, no, this is good. He loves Germany. Yeah. He makes us strong. It's happening because the very things that his people are putting into motion are of a dictatorship, to make certain things unlawful and certain and bringing in national troops into college campuses. That's a police state. These are the same little incremental things that Hitler did. And people were thinking, oh, it's good for Germany, nationalism.
Who was Godwin?
Godwin had the theory that as soon as Hitler is invoked in any argument, you basically lose. And ultimately, Hitler will always be brought up in any argument. If you keep arguing long enough, eventually there's a correlation to Hitler, and you immediately sort of lose the argument.
Gotcha. Okay, well, at least I learned something.
So, you know, Godwin's law aside, we have to talk about, no, it doesn't, the cars are still out front. There are not police at my door. There aren't helicopters over my house. Everything's fine. But these little things happen bit by bit. A person in power, wants more control, wants to abolish the two-term law, you know, and become president forever. These are the things. And enough people who want a dictator, they want the patriarchal society. They want daddy to take care of them. And there's some who live there, and that's scary.
But are you feeling a little better now that you got that out?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, well, that's why we're here for our session. Okay.
Kenny, the Gary and Kenny show is therapeutic. And that's why I like the shows that
I don't know if it's therapeutic for the audience, but certainly
one of us is
getting benefit.
It's fun to have a guest.
Yes.
But every once in a while,
I found this entertaining, and that's really the only person that I care about.
And me too. These are therapeutic for me. I get a lot of things off. I feel better about going into the rest of my day. That's why
we're here, Gary, and we're glad that we were able to help.
Well, and we hope that we helped you out there in podcast viewership land or listenership land. This has been the Gary and Kenny Show. We hope you've enjoyed it. We hope that you'll watch us on YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel, the Gary and Kenny Show. We'd love a thumbs up.
I'd like to hear a comment.
Yeah, we love
very
comments.
few comments.
When they're positive, we love comments. We're on all the popular podcast platforms, and we're also on streaming television on DBTV. So until next time, I'm Gary. That's Kenny. So long.
So long.